Inflammable Santa. Peter puzzled by the fireplace hearth, with the Yule logs ablaze. The fire's great thirst for the forest, trees, twigs, and branches fueled the glowing heat. But what of the chances that Santa could fit down the chimney so small? Could he shrink himself all, or curl into a ball, and squeeze himself down and avoid that old fire? For certain his clothes would catch, speaking of his attire. Peter, knowing how hot the fire, set out to extinguish that Christmas pyre with a 5-gallon bucket of tepid tap water. Come all this to fruition, except for his father. "Where are you going with that bucket of water?" Peter's father inquired, inquiring just like a father. "To put out the fire," Peter exactly exclaimed, with the same exact expression, exactly the same, as last year when Peter tried to remove all the snow from the yard and the driveway, snowblower in tow, and place it on top of the house, covering the full belfry, creating a better landing strip to help the big man deliver those presents that Peter so deserved, for he had been good that year, without one naughty swerve. And by helping him land his 8 or 9 tiny reindeer, he would be helping Santa deliver without fear the Christmas presents wrapped in silver and gold, expertly wrapped without a tear in the folds by Santa, the elves, and of course Mrs. Claus, all of this pronounced without a single pause. But alas, his father stepped in and made Peter an offer. "How about instead we put out some lights," Peter's father proffered, "so Santa can see more clearly at midnight, so Santa can see our small house from such a great height." Peter laid down his shovel and snowblower, said it would make the presents transaction much slower, but that Mom might like some Christmas lights too, so they decorated with colored lights, none too few. His father, with a red Santa hat and son by his side, did fashion the yard with every tradition in mind. Adjusting his glasses, which fogged several times, he stumbled and fell, creating a snow angel so fine that Peter said he would provide the next angel, the one in training, the one off to an angle, to his father's pristine snow creation, that one cast in snow, so founding the angels' choir, which did give a great show. Each and every nook and cranny was filled with decorations that ran a gamut of genres from old Pierre Noel to the story of Reindeer Rudolph told so well. All the boughs were tied with ribbons of red, and the reindeer were given pine cones to make sure they were fed. Glorious red and green ornaments adorned the house with a plastic elf playing his horn. The stand of nativity stood proud and well lit, with baby Jesus and the kings which did sit nearby to ponder upon the coming of the Lord, for they each offered gifts which few could afford. The house was covered from chimney to cellar, illuminated completely to help the Christmas feller find his destination and the well-behaved Peter, for inside there were sugar cookies for the well-known cookie eater. Nearby stood canes of striped candy of immense size and girth, which surely give a dandy of a tummy ache, but that to no mind, for this was Christmas, and that candy did find young Peter always indulging far too often and too much. But what better time to eat said candy and such, but the celebration of the birth for our Lord Jesus? Besides, it's only candy. What's the big fuss? The big fuss arrived at the close of the eve, with Peter saying, "Call my doctor. Call Dr. Steve." For Peter's tummy severely did ache. The culprit? A plate of peanut butter fudge, cooked, not baked. But that was last year, and this year is now. And Peter would not bend, he would not bow, to the idea that Santa is somehow not flammable. Peter found that notion ridiculous, if not laughable. So rear back he did to offer the fire a quick drink. But his father stepped in, and after a quick think, offered a suggestion, one that might work. He consumed the last bite of his sandwich made of turkey, and said, "Why don't we open up the back door and back? That way Santa can just walk in carrying that sack with all those toys and presents so vast that he would just have to come in through that back door and back, and just this one time not be covered in black, ashes and soot and Lord knows what else, and dirty his red suit, which I think is made of felt," his father asked, as Peter quietly listened. Peter agreed, knowing the midnight hour did hasten, so opened the back door and back, as far as it would open to afford that large sack. With the snow slowly blowing in, Peter went off to bed, leaving some cookies in a tin by the mantel, held in place by some old leather books, with a sign in crayon, a big sign that read, "Cookies, big man, to make Santa look." toward the area that was loaded extra heavy with a plethora of signs and a wanton and bevies of stuffed animals and ornaments, some arranged with aplomb, others left scattered as if hit with a bomb. So as midnight clicked heavily on the old grandfather clock, and the fire roared beneath the old stocking socks, in walked through the back door and back, old Santa Claus with his big old red sack. Stomping his feet to rid the bed-buckled shoes of the snow, he quietly walked in through the back door and back, keeping his profile low. He gathered his sack with Peter's presents abundant, with toys and gifts and presents redundant. Carefully he followed the many-placed signs and the laid-out Christmas tree lights laid out in lines, which created the pathway to the fireplace and the Christmas tree pine, for which Santa would place the presents in front of and behind. But as weird as it may sound, the thing unknown for certain was that Santa's glasses fogging over by the curtains, and with all the toys, ornaments, and lights strewn across the floor, tripped Santa, sending him into flight, landing just shy of the fireplace hearth, the one with the roaring fire that had given such mirth to the entire family through the cold, snowy winter. Just as he fell, one of the Yule logs popped and began to splinter, sending out a big old red ember that was warming the house this cold December. It shot in the air, hanging just briefly, and fell ever so quickly, ever so steeply, landing on the coat of the sainted Saint Nick, and began to smoke and smolder right quick. Santa noticed the peculiar odor and tried in vain, but his mittened hands created the strain in trying to extinguish the red tiny ember, and as the hot ember got even hotter, Santa lost his temper and panicked, flailing around the living room proper, trying in vain to romp and stomper out the burning ember that had burned so brightly, the kind the home enjoyed on this cold winter's nightly. Just as Santa got hotter, oh, so much hotter, there came a great splash. 5 gallons of tepid tap water. With his beard waterlogged and precariously sagging, he gathered his composure, which was not worth bragging, about and cleared his eyes to find young Peter in his pajamas with an empty 5-gallon bucket and a shallow pan of peanut butter fudge and a smile on his face. Santa tried in vain to find something to say that was quite wise and perhaps whimsical, but all that came out was, "I guess I'm quite inflammable." Peter stood and watched carefully by as Santa placed the presents under the Christmas tree pine, with care and ease, all of which would appease the Scrooges of all of us, and those without trees. Santa gathered his sack and his waterlogged attire and gave his parting glance at his nemesis, that red roaring fire, and patted Peter on the head and told him to go back to bed. "You can open up these tomorrow morning." That's what he said. Off went Peter, as did St. Nick, for hopefully the wet suit would not make him sick. In the morning, young Peter would find presents in piles, and his father sitting by watching with a smile. Merry Christmas, one and all.